Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Matt and Cheryl's Gen Excellent Playlist. I'm Matt.
I'm Sheryl.
And I'm Mike.
Hey, and if Mike's here, that means one of two things. We're either wrapping up a year, which we are not because we've just begun to forensically go through the year of 1983 in music, or it means we're going to talk about the best new releases from the past year. And I think the timing of our recording tonight is apt. We just saw the Grammy Awards last night, so we could reference that. Now, Sheryl, I know you don't listen to a ton of new music, although you have been preparing for this show.
Oh, you're going to be surprised.
Oh, great. Mike, obviously you need to be on top of every breaking trend in the industry, so you are certainly more versed in contemporary music than Sheryl and I, where we're kind of focused on nostalgia with this show. But I got to say, I think pop music right now, and I don't mean just this year, just the last few years, is, to my mind, considerably better than it was, say, turn of the millennium, which is kind of when I really stopped paying attention to what was charting and what was popular and what was being played on top 40 radio. I just think there's a lot better quality music being produced in the pop realm that is shifting units these days, and especially for female artists, not just in the pop genre, but really across the board. Country, rock. This is a banner time to be a female musician.
Yes, that part is true. I see where you're coming from, and I agree with you in a very limited sense, especially on the female side of things. And the Grammys themselves over the last 5 years have been really fun to watch. Where got to a point where it was why watch the Grammys.
Oh, I agree.
I like watching the Grammys for the performances. I'm not watching them because there's any certain artist that I want to win or anything like that. I'm just watching it because the performances are really good. And
I thought they were universally excellent last night. I mean, I thought the weakest performance was the first one, which was Dawes performing with an all-star band, only because the vocalist isn't that good. I mean, he's just very average.
Well, he was singing Randy Newman, so I mean, it worked for that.
The weakest was Khruangbin, actually.
I missed that. I'd left the room and I came back as they were rapping.
The mix and the miking.
Yeah, that was weird. It was really hard to hear them.
They're much better than what was presented there.
Yeah.
Plus, they were kind of doing it like that was for the best new artist category. So they were jumping from one to the next, and they were the first one, and they didn't. I don't know if they just missed the cue or something on TV, but they didn't introduce them. It was like they just all of a sudden they were there playing, and I was like, "What's happening?" And it was the sound was strange. It was really hard to hear them. So yeah, that did a disservice to them.
Let's stay on Khruangbin for a minute because they were nominated in the Best New Artist category. Now, I've been aware of Khruangbin for at least 5 or 6 years, maybe closer to 10. I don't know. They've had at least 3 or 4 records, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, pretty much all the new artists have, haven't they? I mean, maybe not as many as they have or been around as long as they have, but...
No. They, by far, have been around more than the other new artists.
I don't know what qualifies a new artist. Does it mean that it's like the first album that is on a major label or something? Or I don't know. There must be some kind of guideline what qualifies people as a new artist.
Yeah, 2018 was when Khruangbin really started getting going as far as sales at our stores and people really liking them. And
so they're clearly not a new artist.
Yes,
I don't know. I don't know what the criteria is to be in the new artist category.
The last year's Best New Artist winner was Victoria Monet, who I'm not really familiar with. And then the other nominees, Gracie Abrams, Fred again, Ice Spice, Jelly Roll, Coco Jones, Noah Khan, The War and Treaty, never heard of. Those all sound like new artists last year. Khruangbin has been around. I mean, they're well established, in the, I guess, the alternative realm, for lack of a better way of putting it.
That's why we don't know what the rule is here, why they can who's considered new artists.
Well, they didn't win. Didn't win. The winner was Chappell Roan. Great performance, by the way, by Chappell Roan.
Yes.
I haven't listened to her a ton. I'm not really in her target demographic, I guess. But it's interesting. And she's a hell of a performer.
Yeah. Almost every morning, I wake up and there's a song that's right in my head right as I wake up. And the last 2 days it's been Pink Pony Club.
It is catchy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those songs, and she's one of those artists that kind of transcends generations because she's interesting, but her music it's catchy. It doesn't feel like it's out of the realm of just pop rock. I think that she crosses over to a lot of different audiences. And her performance is great. And the thing, all those performances on the Grammys, most of these artists are touring at the time. They've got this big stage show already set in place, and they're doing a part, a song from that in the performance. And like Sabrina Carpenter, hers was super entertaining and cute. And like she had this whole theatrical thing going with it.
Making fun of herself. It was cute to see that.
Yeah, I thought
just
great.
The fact that she calls her album short and sweet. That's funny. She's clearly got a sense of humor. And I'd say a sharp wit. She's a very interesting songwriter. Her album really captured my fancy. I mean, I didn't think Espresso was the best song by a long shot, but that's the one that everybody took to this year. And I remember when Sabrina Carpenter came through Portland several months ago and played the Moda here, the big basketball arena, the 20,000 seater. It's like, what? Really? Barely even heard of this person.
Well, she's been in TV shows and movies, and people know her. Young people know her from that, so they were already familiar with her. She's had other albums too, but this is by far her biggest.
She does sound a fair bit like Taylor Swift. I will say that. I think they're both Philly gals too.
I think so, and she opened for Taylor. For a while.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Gracie Abrams as well, last year's New Artist nominee, came to prominence opening for Taylor Swift. I correctly predicted that T Swift and Billie Eilish will get shut out of the major awards this year just because they've been winning too damn much. Yeah. But I don't think either of their songs was up with their greatest. Taylor Swift's album to me was, she's on an incredible creative role. And this was her most lyrical album, certainly. And this is coming from somebody who is not a Swiftie, certainly no expert on Taylor Swift. I've seen the movie. I've heard most of her hits multiple times. I don't think the songs were quite as catchy this time around. It was more focused on the lyrical content. She's a fine lyricist, but you just knew it wasn't going to be her or Billie Eilish scooping up metal this year. And I'm glad.
I'm glad because that's the only thing when I watch the Grammys that I get annoyed when someone sweeps. It's fine like when Billie Eilish did it initially because she was new, and she was a big sensation, and
she's fantastic. She's really great.
But when it's somebody who's won a lot of years like Taylor Swift or someone, you're just like, I'm just kind of over it. I want to see new people and different people win.
And it wouldn't be my pick for album of the year. In fact, the one that won was the one that I said months and months ago. Cowboy Carter came out
over a year ago. It came out like in January.
Right, came out at the beginning of the year, and I think I said on one of our shows that if this isn't the album of the year, I don't know what is going to be.
Is it your album of the year?
I'm sticking with it. Nothing jumped out at me that was considerably better than that. I listened to a lot of things that I liked. I haven't listened to Cowboy Carter more than 3-4 times, and it's a lot to take in.
It's a double album, isn't it?
Right. It's it's a long album, and there's a lot going on it, which, the best progressive R&B and rap, that's the case. It takes a lot of listens to really soak it all in. I was not put off that she was shut out of the Country Music Awards because I don't feel like it's a country album.
Do you think it should have won Best Country album for the Grammys?
No, but I'm not surprised that it did. That seemed like a Grammy thing to do.
Yeah.
It's more of a political response. But I thought it certainly deserved album of the year. No doubt, in my opinion.
Like I said, I haven't really listened to it, but I would say it deserved album of the year more than country album of the year because it was
it's not a country album.
And it's eclectic too. Like it has different styles on it. The fact that she does do country on that album along with, R&B, rap, whatever else, I think is cool. So like that to me makes it an interesting album. To pigeonhole it as country, I don't think makes sense.
No, I don't think it's a country album at all. It's a progressive R&B album that is very influenced by country and pays respects to country music and country music artists, and in particular Linda Martell, which is a name that most people wouldn't have recognized before Beyonce brought her to prominence. She was the first black woman to have any kind of, success or record sales in the country genre. But, the album as a whole, it's not country. And so, I mean, it didn't belong at the Country
But
Music Awards.
if you look at the country nominees, you have Post Malone.
Yeah.
Now I guess he's country. You've got there's a handful of them. Really, Chris Stapleton and I forget. There's maybe one other that really were country. The rest of them are pretty much pop artists that are making country albums.
You can make a case, I think, that the biggest music story of 2024 is what happened to country music and the influence of other genres on country music, particularly black music and hip hop in country music. Shaboozey was up for a couple of awards, but there's, a lot of white artists are putting out country music that's very influenced by R&B and hip hop. So that's kind of what I remember, 2024 being is who could have seen this coming? The most conservative genre.
Yeah, I don't know that there really are. Casey Musgraves, I guess, was the other one, but
Love her. Yeah.
She sounds more country, but she also actually sounds pretty pop too. I mean, she's definitely
and very folk. And in fact, my song of the year is going to turn out to be one of hers. But she's melding a lot of different genres. And again, this is an artist that I'm only coming to appreciate and listen to. I listened to her album a bunch and liked it a lot. And it was right up there with B, I think, for my favorite album of the year. There's a real strong folk influence there. And I like a lot of the, for lack of, to simplify things, more liberal country. I mean, that's like Sturgill Simpson. I mean, just the non-traditional. It's hard to even talk about country music anymore using those kind of terms. What is traditional country now?
I don't know. And I feel like, to me, what makes country a song or an album sound country to me is the twang and the voice, that makes it sound country.
Yeah.
But even back in the 90s, like starting with Garth Brooks and Shania Twain, those people, they were doing pop songs with a country twang, so it still has the same feel as a pop song. So I don't know where that delineation is between the two, or if there has been one for a while.
Shania Twain was produced by Mutt Lange, who made his name producing Def Leppard and AC/DC and Foreigner. And Garth Brooks was a lot closer to stuff like the Eagles and Jimmy Buffett than any, traditional country.
Taylor Swift got her start in country.
And I think I've talked about this before too. When I worked in radio on the coast here in Oregon, we had a conglomeration of 6 radio stations. One of them was a country FM, and I used to needle our country queen, Sonia, all the time about Taylor Swift and how she can't sing and she's not talented. And she's never going to be considered among the great vocalists. That's not her strength. But here is a young lady that you don't have to love her music or even like her music to respect the hell out of her. She's worked her tail off to become what she is. Yeah. She has put the work in.
Although she didn't really win very many awards. There wasn't anybody who swept anything. I mean, I guess Kendrick Lamar won quite a few.
So Kendrick Lamar put out 2 albums this year. One of them just came out recently, which is GNX, or some call it Gen X. Came out in November.
Yeah, digitally. It comes out this Friday physically.
Oh, the physical product is really okay. So yeah, I listened to that, and that's kind of like his tribute to his. He's a Compton guy, LA guy, and that's kind of a throwback to the old gangster rap, early '90s sounds. And then he put out, his major album came out earlier this year. I've already forgotten the name of it, but the song "Not Like Us" came off of that. He's been around a while. He's well established in the community as being one of the most brilliant artists in hip hop.
Yeah.
I can respect his flow. Certainly. I can respect his lyrics. I just don't like his voice. It's just, I don't care for it. I came up in hip hop when you had guys like Chuck D and KRS-One and Rakim with these deep, resonant, stentorian voices and deliveries. And so if you don't have the vocal chops, you're going to have to really knock my socks off with the rest of it. And granted, To Pimp a Butterfly is considered one of the great hip hop albums, one of the great albums of the millennium. And I've not yet dived in there. So I don't think GNX is certainly not the way to start your appreciation for this artist. But he did win for Not Like Us.
He won several Grammys. Like I saw pictures of him holding a armload of them. They don't show a lot of the Grammys. You know, like, did you know that the Rolling Stones won for Best Rock Album?
No,
they didn't show that.
I haven't listened to that album in a while, but I liked it when I did listen to it.
That falls in the category of bands from, the 70s, 60s, and 70s. If they're still making music and the music is even like halfway okay, then I have to give them props for that. It's like, okay, good job. Yay. It's listenable. But I wouldn't say that it's good by any means, but it's not bad.
Well, I'm not gonna rank it up there with Sticky Fingers and Beggar's Banquet.
Well, of course not. But I mean, rank it even up there with the other people that are putting out rock albums right now. Like current artists. So it's like I don't think it deserved a Grammy.
Well, in that case, I think it's probably best that we pivot to you now because you've been listening to a lot of rock music from 2024.
Oh my God, you're going to be so proud of me. Yeah. I have totally turned a leaf here. I have to say that for years, I was so turned off and just against new music, mostly because it's so derivative of things from the 60s, 70s, 80s mostly. And I just was so annoyed by that. Like I couldn't get over that. I also knew that there was just so much music from the 60s to the 80s, especially when we started doing this podcast, that I had never heard before. That was new to me.
Yeah.
It was so I was so focused on that I was like, I don't have time to bother with all this other stuff coming out now that sounds just like the stuff from the 80s or, whatever. But I have listened to a lot of new prog over the last several, like probably 5 years. And so I started, when I knew we were going to do this episode, I started thinking, okay, wait a minute. Why can I do that with prog, but I can't do it with other genres? Because prog is the exact same thing. The reason I like the new prog is because it sounds like the old stuff that I like. So I just kind of, switched my brain and thought, I'm just not going to judge based on the fact that it sounds just like something else. And there's so much good music out there. Now, this is the other thing that has kind of kept me from listening to new music too, though, is that there is so much music. It is totally overwhelming how much music there is. And I just never even knew where to start. I just felt buried by it. I was like, I don't even know how to like dip my toe into this. But once I started finding lists that other people had put out for their top albums of the year through like, Mojo and All Music Guide and, even like Billboard and those Rolling Stone. Then I kind of was able to narrow it down. I listened to a lot of stuff. So then it was kind of like, okay, what do I want to go back to and listen to again? What do I actually want to like give more time and listen to all the way through? And then I started narrowing it down to even more to like, what albums can I actually enjoy all the way through and not get tired of or bored? That's an issue for every era, trying to find full albums that you actually want to listen to all the way through. And I found a lot, which that actually surprised me.
Before you go on, now I listened to a couple of the prog albums you recommended. I like them both. Is it fair to say, and this is a question for the both of you, that probably the most influential band in prog to this point would have to be Genesis?
I'd say yes, and Genesis are pretty much.
I would say yes, Genesis and King Crimson.
Yeah, the couple of
and
things.
King Crimson is starting to take over.
Really?
With the new bands that are coming out that are prog bands that are really popular, like King Gizzard. They're more King Crimson than they are Yes or Genesis.
And they're different every album, though.
Well, I was going to say, you have to differentiate when you say King Crimson, too, like what you're talking about. I think there's a lot of heavier prog that is influenced by Red and Starless and Bible Black and that era of King Crimson. And then there's like the earlier King Crimson stuff that's more psychedelic, and that's like the King Gizzard and the, so. But I think when I say King Crimson, I'm just thinking that there's a heaviness there. And there's a lot. I mean, there's more like prog metal now too. Like that's a big offshoot of prog, is like the more heavy metal type prog. But yeah, I would definitely say Genesis and Yes are the biggest influences.
Well, the two things that you had me list to, the Big Big Train and what was the other one? I've already.
I don't know which one I told you about. Did you listen to the Cirque Link and Christian Nesmith one?
Yes. I heard a lot of Genesis in both of those.
Yeah. Well, there's also a lot of artists whose vocals sound like Peter Gabriel. So like there's that part that bands that will sound like Genesis because of the vocals. And then there's the music that, if it has that kind of more folky, pastoral feel to it, if it has more, like I found there's a lot of prog albums from this year that I like that are more like the Canterbury sound. That's that more mellowy and flowy and lots of flutes and, stuff like that, which hasn't really been the case as much in the more recent years. It's been more kind of on the heavier end.
This apparently is the year of the flute. If Andre 3000's album can get nominated for album of the year, where did that come? I mean, were you surprised to see that? You've listened to it, right, Mike?
Was I surprised? I guess in a way, but in a way, no. Marketing and the power of labels and money and push is about as big as it's ever been. And it's always been there. It seems even more so. So what I'm saying is, even though it's not that accessible an album and way out of left field, there was a concerted push closer to Grammy nomination time and everything to get that back out there and get people interested.
Where would you even file that album in the store? I mean, it's like that. We would have put that in the New Age section back in the.
Yeah, well, what Silver Platters does is put it where people are going to find it the most, not where it
actually belongs.
Yeah, where it actually belongs. Because and tell that artist, there's been a number of artists that were one thing.
Well, like where do you put Post Malone now?
Yeah, well, Post Malone, most of his career is rap.
Yeah.
So we still have him in the rap.
Okay, so it depends on how many, if there's more of one genre than another.
Yeah. Genre to me and where you put it in the store is one of those things that
is a huge argument that could go on all night. It does at the store.
Yes.
We've gotten diverted here. Sheryl, you were priming us for your rock and prog.
I've got
hits
lots of stuff
2024.
Here. Okay, starting with prog, the one that you listened to, Big Big Train, which has been one of my favorite bands for a while now.
Yeah, they've been kicking around.
They've been around for a long time, and they're part of that breed of prog that is clean, precise musicianship, with like emotional, thought-provoking lyrics, which wasn't always the case in prog, that you actually had lyrics that, anybody would actually want to listen to. Also for them, it's the first album after the death of their lead singer, David Longdon, who died unexpectedly a few years ago. Nobody really knew what was going to happen with the band, although they're all very talented, and there are other singers in the band. Nick DiVirgilio, who's the drummer, was also the drummer for Spock's Beard, and he sings lead in that band and did for a long time, and he's like amazing. There's just a lot of deep talent in that band. So they brought on a new vocalist who is great, and I think it's one of their best albums. I mean, like I said, the musicianship is just amazing, and the songs are great. It's super uplifting. It just has this like transcendent experience listening to it. I think all their albums are like that. And it also, because there's just so much emotion behind what the band went through in the last couple of years, losing David Longdon, that I think it really comes out in the music too. So that's up there as one of my favorites in the prog genre. Another one that's great, this falls in that category too, of a band or an artist from the 70s that if they do anything that's even kind of halfway decent, I'm happy. Yes is the band I'm talking about, which they didn't have a new album this year, but John Anderson did. And he's now recording with a band called The Band Geeks, which are a conglomerate just of a bunch of musicians from other bands. And it started by Richie Castellano. He's actually in Blue Oyster Cult. He has been since like the early 2000s. He started this YouTube channel called Band Geeks and had people come on and just play songs with him. And they did a lot of Yes songs and other, prog stuff. And John Anderson heard about this and got in touch with them and actually brought them on as his touring band. So he's been touring with them for the last few years. And they recorded an album of new songs, and it's so good. It's better than anything Yes has put out. I actually have liked the last two Yes albums, even though, I have a lot of tolerance for them. So it's not like that those albums are great or anything, but they're not bad. This is the best thing in the Yes camp that has come out in years. And it sounds like Yes. It sounds like a mixture of 70s, 80s, and 90s Yes. Like the Steve Howe and Trevor Rabin, sometimes even on the same song. John's vocals, still amazing. He's not quite singing as high up there as he, did in his heyday, but it is amazing he can still hit the notes he can, and he sounds great.
And Yes, we'll make our playlist for the first time in a few weeks.
Yeah, they will. That's true in 1983. And really, if you like 80s Yes, you'll like this album because they do bring in a lot of their 80s sound, even with the Jeff Downes kind of keyboards or even like some of the production techniques. But it's cool because they kind of intersplice it in the same song. They'll sort of go from all the best of Yes. So I think they did a great job of bringing it all together. It's really cool.
I've heard a lot of good things about that record. I haven't listened to it yet. But
the only bad thing about it has a really dumb album cover.
It's not Roger Dean?
No, I wish it was. If it was Roger Dean, it'd be great. The last two Yes albums had Roger Dean covers. No, it's like a photo of John on the cover. It just looks so cheesy and like homemade, and it really does a disservice to the album. Okay, the most interesting one that was a surprise to me, I knew nothing about, was this Cirque Link and Christian Nesmith. Christian Nesmith is Mike Nesmith's son, Mike Nesmith from the Monkees.
The late Mike Nesmith.
Mm-hmm. And they are a couple, they're married, and they actually were touring with the Monkees. They put out a couple of albums with Mickey Dolenz too. One of them is Mickey Dolenz sings REM, and they're the backup band. Yeah.
I could hear that.
So they've been doing like these just kind of different projects and a lot of YouTube stuff. And they've put out one other prog album before this one. I'd never heard about it, but this one is called Arcana. It's definitely that classic prog sound of like Yes, and it's very much like the symphonic prog, which is what I love. But it has the spacey synths, really trebly bass, melodic sounding drums, and the vocals kind of sound like a mix of ABBA and John Anderson. And it's just really good. I just was so pleasantly surprised by this album. And it's one of those albums that I think is really good all the way through. And like a true prog album, it's a song cycle, like they all go together and fit with each other. It has a theme, that's really one of those things that I think still makes a great prog album when you're talking more in the symphonic prog type genre. Big Train and a lot of these new prog bands, like cross the line into pop music and rock. They are just like classic prog. So those are my top three. I did listen to the new David Gilmour album. Super boring.
I keep forgetting to listen, but I'm not missing anything. It sounds
I thought it was very boring, and he's never been a great singer. His voice is definitely lacking in older age. And it wasn't even on the list of, you look at the prog websites and stuff. Nobody listed that as one of the best albums of the year.
I also listened to the Cure's new album, long-awaited new album, yesterday for the first time, and you'd already given me your opinion, and I'm just not, I've never been a Cure fan. I liked.
It's one of my favorites.
One of your favorites for the year? Well, it sounds like classic Cure. I mean, it sounds like it could have come out.
Well, that's the reason why I wasn't really a fan of it. Is I'm not a big fan of their albums. They are a singles band to me, and I love their singles, but especially any album after Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Like from there on, you get into the more like drudgy, dragging, like that's what this one sounds like to me, is more like Disintegration.
Well, it starts out like Kiss Me Kiss with the long instrumental passage, and I mean, I was thinking it could have come out around that same time.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But then it goes like down.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely you don't get the poppy cure, that's for sure. So this is
And
more
that's what I like.
Yeah.
I like the poppy cure. So you can talk about the Cure album, Mike, but I want to finish mine first, okay? Because I have more. I won't bore you guys all with my prog picks because I have like probably about 10 of them. I don't think anybody else cares but me. Okay, so there's another album that I had seen on some of the prog guys' lists. It's not a prog album necessarily, but it does kind of have leanings in that way. The band is Field Music. It's called Turn the Hours Away. And this was definitely one that I saw a lot on the list. The All Music and Mojo and them had it on there.
Well-established British group. They've been around a while.
I'd never heard of them or heard them before. And I love this album. I think it's eclectic. Mike thinks it all sounds the same, but I thought it was like, lots of different, not genres, but just sounds to it. There's synths, but it's not like a prog synth album with noodly synths. It's just more like a wash of synth type things, but it has those big drums that sound, and vocals are really upfront, which I like that. Sometimes it's like artsy pop. Sometimes it's like 60s sounding pop. Sometimes it's more current. Mike thinks it sounds really 80s. I mean, the 80s-ness to me is more like Utopia. Or like 10cc, and that.
I think they've cited Prince as a primary influence on.
I could see that with the synths, but what I was really getting was like Todd Rundgren, Utopia, and that's where I think the prog part comes into play too. How those bands kind of can lean in the prog realm, but I just think it's a very cool album, and that's one that I've listened to more than any of others. I just keep going back to it. The other one is Omni, is the band Souvenir. They're a trio, very reminiscent of like Television. Also has that 90s. Like the Strokes and Franz Ferdinand type sound to it, trebly melodic bass lines and like angular guitars and those aloof vocals that I really like, kind of like Phoenix, the band Phoenix. They're sort of like that too, where they're almost like talking, and I love that vocal sound. And I think that's another thing that kind of turned Mike off on this one. So you kind of have to be able to be okay with that talk singing sort of aloof vocal sound, because it does sort of get a little bit repetitive throughout the album, but I think it's really cool. And then my honorable mentions, there's a band called Dead, Dehd, and the album is Poetry. They're a trio, another trio. Super catchy, simple pop punk kind of songs, but they're so catchy and they just get stuck in my head. They're earworms. One of the things I didn't really catch on to it when I was listening to it, but I read that the drummer only plays 2 drums and no cymbals. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I guess now I do get that. And the other thing I really like about it is they're a trio. It's 2 guys and a girl, and they all sing lead vocals on different songs. And the guys have very different vocal styles. And, obviously the woman sounds different. And so it's really cool. I like that a lot too. It's very upbeat. And the other one is a band called Sergeant Papers, and the album is called Fuga. They're a Mexican band, so the whole album's in Spanish, but it's super upbeat rock and roll. It's like kind of the first song really reminds me of Gomez, the band Gomez. It's kind of got that sort of like a funky, folky sound to it, but it's sung in Spanish, but it's really, a lot of the songs are like super chant-like, so you like, it doesn't take away from the experience that you don't know what they're saying. And it's just like power chords galore, and it's just really fun. Some of these, I don't know if Mike's going to talk about these. You can go next, Mike. But if you don't talk about them, I want to mention Kim Deal, Nobody Loves You More. Mm-hmm. Very good album. I really liked that album all the way through.
Yes.
I think Mike will talk about that a little more, maybe. And The Vampire Weekend, Only God Was Above Us, who's a band that I really didn't know anything about until just the other day when Mike told me about them, and I listened to it and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I don't know why I didn't know about them.
Because you never listen to new music.
That's why. Yes. And the other one is Mdu Mokhtar, Funeral for Justice.
Now there's a guy who shreds on guitar.
Yeah, this might be god from Nigeria.
He is probably top of the heap of guitar heroes right now. This guy's incredible.
And it's so cool the way the guitar like weaves around the vocals, and it's just, I liked this because I'm not big into guitar shredding at all. What I like about it is more that it's like the guitar it's not like solos. It's like the whole song. He's playing through the whole song, and it just, there's a sense of melody about it. and it just like dances, kind of around the music, and it's really cool stuff.
All right, Mike, what turned you on in 2024?
Unfortunately, not a whole lot. That's I don't know if it's just where I am in life and how busy and old I am. And a large part of it really is hitting harder, where everything that comes out, it's invariable that
you can pinpoint exactly who it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds just like, we were listening to the new Cult album today, and there's a track, and I don't know if they really meant to do this. It's American Woman. But it is an American Woman, but it is exactly American Woman.
And Lenny Kravitz already covered that and had a hit with it.
Yes.
Well, and at least he was covering it. They're not covering it.
No, and almost everything sounds exactly like something else. And so to me, it's the music. I find myself going, oh, this is pretty cool. I want to listen to it again, because rarely do I listen to things more than a couple times in a year. And it's getting much harder to listen to full albums in the year. When I was put to the task of coming up with best of for the year, there was much more review that I had to do than I've had to do in the past. There was very few that I was like, oh, yeah, I really like this album. And my album of the year is the one that when I heard it in the store, it was like, oh, this is really good. Actually, the first time I heard it, I didn't even know it was this album. I was just like, who is this? This is really good. And then I went and looked, and it was Kim Deal, her album, Nobody Loves You More. That album, from front to back, it doesn't have any holes. It takes you on a journey. To me, I love albums that are like roller coaster rides that aren't just the same pace. And that's what I was talking about with the field music. It doesn't all sound the same. It just feels the same.
I disagree with that. I think Omni maybe, but I get what you're saying about the Kim Deal, because that album goes basically from like a Dusty Springfield's like Burt Bacharach hits to angular, tough, heavy. Like it really goes back and forth between genres, really.
Yeah. And the vocals are still there. I'm going to be honest, Matt, you probably know about, I don't know the backstory or anything about it. I know who Kim Deal is, but.
Well, Kim Deal, obviously, Pixies bassist, one of the Breeders. This is her first solo album. She put out several albums with the Breeders. One album called The Amps, which was kind of when her sister was in rehab, I guess, a placeholder. And there's some really cool stuff on that record, by the way. It came out mid-90s, 95, 96, I want to say. But this is her first solo album. So she's always stayed close to her roots, Dayton, Ohio. And she has, for several years, been taking care of her elderly parents. Her father had passed away and her mother had Alzheimer's. So for the last several years, that's really taken up a lot of her time, is caring for her mother. And I think that shows up as a theme on more than one song on this album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just has heart, it has soul, it rocks, it has ballads. It just is a really good album, and it's short. One of the things that is annoying me with new music is the lack of making an album as an art form. With no restrictions on format because of digital, there's too much fluff.
Yeah.
There's so many albums that have 15 to 20 tracks on them. It waters down the experience to me. And
another great short classic album by a female artist this year, Jessica Pratt's album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Billie Eilish's album. It's shorter and it's well thought out.
She's really a wonderful artist, and it's a they. I mean, So
yes.
So Gillian Welch is finally putting David Rawlings' name on the credits on her albums. That's been a they all along. It's a duo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with Billie Eilish and her brother, Phineas. I mean, he's the guy making the music.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great music.
Yeah. So it kind of broke down into different themes for me. The Kim Deal wasn't far and above the best album, but when it comes down to it, I think it's the strongest of the albums. Now I'm going to talk about the female albums that I really liked from the year because they all tend to go together. The St. Vincent All Born Screaming, that's a good album, although it has a couple tracks that are kind of holes. It does have my favorite, probably song of the year, and that is Broken Man. And she won the Grammy for Rock Song of the Year with that.
Yeah.
And if you get a chance to go and watch her perform it on like later with Jules Holland or any of the concerts that were recorded, it's really something to watch her perform that song. And that album is also adventurous. It just isn't as strong as an album as Kim Deal's. The Jessica Pratt album, I really like that. It is definitely a throwback to the 60s sounds. And
back when you had an album like that, you would put it on, you dim the lights, maybe light a candle, and you maybe have a glass of wine.
The atmospherics of it and the song structures, her voice, it all works. It gets a little bit wearing listening to the whole album.
Her voice is not for all tastes.
Yeah, you get about 3/4 of the way through and it's like, okay, I think I could make it to the end. But it's one of those that immediately jumps out to me. And I was like, oh, what is this?
And that was also one of those albums that you played for me a while ago. Like, when it came out, and I was like, no. It's so 60s. It sounds just like, it's just way too derivative of that style. And
plus,
I was
Sheryl
like,
hates when I
don't know,
suggest things.
But then when I started opening up my mind and listening, I was like, actually, this is pretty cool. I like it, and I like her vocals.
Yeah, you have to jump into her world. I mean, it's very very transportive.
Yeah.
And then Billie Eilish's "Hit Me Hard and Soft." Really good album. Her vocals and what she's done with her vocal styling, she's becoming one of the premier vocalists of our time.
Agreed. I was blown away when she was on SNL and she was the host and musical guest.
Yep.
So that was the first time I'd heard her singing in full voice and not that whispery tone.
Yes.
And I was gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Record Store Day this year, Record Store Day presents Black Friday. The Record Store Day people were pitched by Universal. What do you think of the album, but just the vocal parts? And it seemed like people were like, I don't know. And I was like, this could be really cool. And we actually got a chance to listen to it, and it worked. And it shows how much just her vocals itself. And the album is made for that. And then Beth Gibbons, Lives Outgrown. I really like that as an album and how adventurous it is. I've always liked Beth Gibbons stuff. It's an acquired taste. And one that didn't get really much attention that I thought was a really strong album from an artist that is taking steps every album becoming a much better musician, and that's Clairo and her album Charm.
Who?
Clairo.
Clairo.
And her album was on a lot of the best of lists that I read.
Clairo.
I don't know that.
You've got to listen to Clairo.
Okay.
If you're talking pop music, she's more alternative than Taylor Swift and some of the other stuff that's out there. She's more in, I guess you could kind of say, the Lana Del Rey camp, but not really. But her album from this year is a really strong album. My next category is country. And there were two country albums that came out this year. I love both of them. In fact, one of them was up until just a couple weeks ago going to be my album of the year. And then it was like, nah, as far as a full album, I like the Kim Deal better. And that's Dwight Yoakam's Brighter Days.
It sounds like Nick Lowe.
Well, at times, Dwight Yoakam's country, but one of my favorite songs on the album and one of my favorite songs of the year is I Spell Love. And it is totally a Nick Lowe. You'd think, oh, this is Nick Lowe.
Yeah.
From the vocal, how it's performed, the vocals, to even
quirky, yeah,
quirky, and the humor.
But, Nick Lowe was
and
country too, so I mean, it makes sense that that it has that feel and sound to it.
The other country album is Charlie Crockett's $10 Cowboy. I've always liked Charlie Crockett. He's got a specific retro sound. I don't know if it's for everyone, but this one I thought took a step up in the songwriting, the actual lyrics, and just the strength of the whole album. I'd say that the next category is the Old Timers Club. The bands that came out with things this year that have been around forever, the people. I'll just kind of go down the list here. I mean, Dwight Yoakam could be in there, but The Cure, Songs of the Lost World. From what I've heard, Robert Smith did this album really for one song. He wanted to get that one song out, and he just built an album
about
around
his brother, right? Who had passed away.
About his brother. Yeah. So it was supposed to be this and done. But he all of a sudden started having fun with music again and really loved the process. And there's another Cure album in the can because of this. That's going to be coming out.
Well, and this album did well. It got really good reviews, and they toured.
Yeah, the way to listen to this album, it is dark, it is atmospheric. Yep. I'm a huge fan of surround mix albums and 5.1 and the new Atmos experience. This album, when you're listening to it in Dolby Atmos and surround, it's just amazing. The production, the sounds, the feeling it sets up, it's pretty amazing.
And going back to Kim Deal, I was going to mention too that she's an unlikely candidate for sound quality. She's very obsessed with analog recording and tube amps, recording on tape, no computers, no Pro Tools, and getting the best mastered sound, which, you don't think of Kim Deal, her recorded works as being audiophile pieces, but it's good to know there's still artists out there that care about that stuff.
Yep.
And she'd be one of those old timers too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Jack White, I count as an old timer.
Yes.
But his album No Name was one of the best albums to come out from him he always puts out good albums, but this one was really good.
I've never been a big fan of him, but it's really good.
Yeah.
It may be the best rock album of the year for me.
I told Sheryl it's in that sweet spot between Iggy and Led Zeppelin. It just, it's a riff machine.
Mm-hmm. That should have won for best rock album if it was even nominated.
Another really good rock album from an old-time rock band member, Jerry Cantrell's I Want Blood, is a really good rock album. And it sounds very Alice in Chains, but
it does.
It's good, Allison. I mean, it is really good. And the song Vilified, which leads off the album, is one of my favorites of the year. Just a really good, strong album. This kind of is, the Stephen Malkmus has been around forever as an alternative musician. And he did a new thing this year. He put together a group called the Hard Quartet. And if you haven't listened to that album, it's a really good alternative rock album. It kind of harkens back to that kind of late 80s to mid 90s alternative sound. I was impressed by, and it's a good album back to front. Nick Lowe put out an album this year, Indoor Safari. It's a more kitschy album. It's more croony, but it's strong back to front. The Black Crowes, Happiness Bastards, is a good rock album. I was surprised.
I heard one song and I liked it quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good listen for a rock album. I don't know. Is Liam Gallagher, can he now be called an old timey?
Yeah, he's been around since the 90s.
Well, if you're calling Jack White an old timer, then certainly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Liam Gallagher and John Squire, that album.
I didn't really care. Yeah, it was all right.
I'm a big British pop rock guy, and this hits all those. I mean,
I loved Oasis. I loved the first Stone Roses album, but I did not like the Seahorses at all.
Yeah.
And I have not really listened to any of Liam's solo stuff.
All his solo stuff is strong, but this one I thought was particularly strong. And then Radiohead's kind of new group, The Smile. Their first one was like, I don't really know. It was okay, but this new one, Wall of Eyes, I thought was a stronger album from them, and it's very atmospheric. It's watered down Radiohead, but it's still good. The other albums that I really like that I'll bring up is Hooray for the Riff Raff.
Yes, good one.
Past is Still Alive. Like Claro, another step up for this artist that has put out a number of albums, and it's a really good singer-songwriter, kind of alt rock, kind of country, kind of
fascinating artist, fascinating background, great deep rich voice.
Yes. At times almost too Lucinda Williams though. I mean, there's a Lucinda Williams vibe that's sometimes hard to get past, but it's really good. There's been some good jazz, but one of the ones that really impressed me, this kind of goes down that road where there are too many albums coming out digitally and then not physically for sometimes months to a half a year later. And that shouldn't be. It's killing the music business, the retail music business. When we can't have, like, the Kendrick Lamar is finally coming out physically this week.
3 months later?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the Christian Nesmith and Circe Link.
Yeah.
That's not out physically. It's only out digitally. It finally comes out physically at the end of this month.
Is it due to a backlog at pressing plants?
No. There's no backlog at pressing plants anymore.
No, like the Christian, is it Circe Link? Is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
Okay. The Christian Nesmith and Circe Link, it was on Bandcamp. There was no physical product. It was just online. It was on Bandcamp and Spotify and streaming.
Yeah. So there is nothing wrong production-wise. It's all about marketing and setup, and also the lack of interest from artists and management to have physical product in the stores. They want it on their website to sell directly, but having it in the record store is becoming, to some people, an afterthought, which is unfortunately sad. And there is a jazz album that is in this vein. It came out digitally in 2024, but it didn't come out physically until this last week. And that is Joe Saunders' Parallels, which is a really good jazz album. It's very soulful. It's got good horns. It's got great percussion. It's recorded live. And you wouldn't know it until you actually hear at the end the clapping from the audience that that it's recorded live. Let's see. Vampire Weekend, Only God Was Above Us. I like Vampire Weekend, and I thought this was a really strong album.
Their whole thing, they are like the Flaming Lips and the Shins, and sometimes Paul Simon, Graceland, and Cockney Rebel. You know how much I love Cockney Rebel, Matt, which nobody else probably cares about. They sound like Cockney Rebel. I was like, oh my God, I wish I could talk to them because I know they like Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel. And with Colin Blunstone type vocals sometimes too, like his solo.
Yes.
Did you get that, Mike? Like I hear that and I'm like, oh my God, that's what the vocals sound like. It's very cool. I need to go back and some more.
Their song Classical is one of my favorite songs of the year. There's only one other here that I'll talk about, two others. There was an album that I thought I'd have up there in my albums of the year. And the more I listened to it, the more I was like, no, this isn't a strong album. If the songs come to me on shuffle play, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. But when you listen to the full album together, it just isn't quite there. And that's Christopher Owen's album, which I can't remember the album name. Oh, it's I Want to Run Barefoot Through Your Hair.
Oh yeah. Yes, I listened to that too. And I
love the title.
I felt the same way about it. I was like, I really like this, but then after a few songs, it's just kind of all a little too samey.
It's really good singer-songwriter, just mellow stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of playful. The song Beautiful Horses really just keeps on playing in your head after you listen to it, at least me. So it's one of my favorite songs of the year.
To put onto a playlist, but the whole album all the way through gets a little repetitive.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I'll talk about is I may butcher this because I've never heard it pronounced, I don't think. So I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the last name. There's an artist from the UK that's had a number of albums out. Michael
Kiwanuka.
Yeah.
Consistently great music. Yeah.
Yes. I was really looking forward to this album called Small Changes, and it's good.
It wasn't as good as his last album was fabulous, but this one is good, but yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting another step forward or at least the same, and it just didn't. It's flat. It's a good listen, but it just doesn't have the life that his past albums have had.
All right, I guess it's back to me then. Am I the only Father John Misty fan in the house? I just love this guy, Josh Tillman. I think one of our great songwriters.
I would say I do like him. When listening to full albums, I'm like, I don't, it's okay. This album was really good. It didn't make one of my favorites of the year, but that's because I actually haven't listened to the album enough.
Yeah, I haven't listened
all the way.
I haven't listened to any of these albums enough, so I'm going to keep this pretty short and sweet.
I listened to it and I thought it was cool.
He's another guy who's very dedicated to sound quality, and if you've seen him in a live setting, you really get your money's worth. One of the best concerts I've ever seen. When he played with Jason Isbell, arguably the top two, my two favorite songwriters, contemporary songwriters, but he toured with a 9-piece band. It was wonderful. And
I really like that She Cleans Up song.
Yes. And he is really coming into his own as a vocalist. I mean, he's a fantastic singer.
Yeah, I do like his vocals.
So that was one, but again, I didn't listen to it a ton. I do want to reference the poll winners, the two big British music magazines that I've been buying routinely for decades now, Mojo and Uncut. Their albums of the year were the Jack White album and the Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds album. Nick Cave it's funny. I like his music. Yeah. I got introduced to it quite a long time ago when I watched the movie Wings of Desire. When did that come out? Late 80s?
Yeah, I think so.
And I remember being pretty transfixed at there's a part of the movie where they're performing live in a club and thinking, wow, this is, I certainly didn't listen to that kind of music back then. It was just different and fascinated me. And Nick Cave is one of those critics artists. It's like he can do no wrong with the music critics. Every album gets these glowing reviews. whatever reason, the hyper version in me gets pushed away from him because of that, which is stupid. It's dumb.
Yeah.
Because he ticks a lot of boxes for me. He's a very interesting songwriter. He's got that
I love his vocals.
deep baritone voice that I love. The music's very interesting.
I don't know why I've never gotten into him.
Yeah.
Because I feel the same way. Like, I should like him. Yeah. There isn't any reason why I wouldn't, but I've just never gone deep into his catalog.
Yeah, I've had a few of his albums for years, but I've just never done the deep dive. I've never really lived with it I know I got his first album with the Bad Seeds, and The Firstborn is Dead, and a couple of others. The one with Red Right Hand on it.
Yeah.
Let Love In.
But, that album was on a lot of people's lists. Not maybe number one or up in the top 10, but it was on a lot of people's lists. And I don't. Did you listen to it, Mike?
So when it first came out, Dean and I, who are the big Nick Cave fans, Dean more than I, thought, it's not there. And then, it kept on playing and then it started to grow on me. And then I thought, okay, it's going to be one of my top albums of the year. And then I listened to it again, and it was like, as an album itself, it just didn't hold up with the other things. I was expecting a little bit more. I like that he's coming out of a very depressive state and getting more into less depressing music.
Yeah.
And more of some of the ballads and rock type of stuff.
Do you know the story with him, Sheryl? Why he would be in it depressing?
Yeah, I think his son died.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really hit him hard. He had an interesting interview on Stephen Colbert talking about it. And there are songs that are really good on the album. But as an album itself, it almost made it up there, but didn't quite.
So the other top list that I will cite is Metacritic, which is an aggregation of several sources. And their top album of the year was the Charlie XCS album, Brat, which was nominated for several things.
It was a Brat Summers.
Yeah, Brat Summers. It's actually quite good. I mean, it's less pop, more kind of hard electronic dance music, but
and it won for best dance album. Yeah.
Which it should. I mean, it's good. It's good. Again, compelling performer. Okay, so let's go back to the old man's club. I got the oldest one of all here. John Cale put out an interesting and one song in particular, Shark Shark, that I really enjoyed.
I only listened to that. That was one of the first releases of the year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was early in the year.
Yeah, and I'll have to go back to it. I remember it was kind of like Paul Weller, his album. It was like, it's good, but
well, I think he's been consistently putting out records that stay contemporary.
Yeah, that's true.
Chime
for
with
John
the times.
Cale. Yes.
Yeah, he is a musician that hasn't been given his due. He is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
He is almost up there in musical genius category.
Well, it's frustrating to, Lou Reed. I mean, we cover this topic about overrated artists?
Overrated artists.
Yeah, okay. Now, granted, he's put out some incredible, highly influential music in his lifetime, the Velvet Underground stuff in particular. But he's also put out a bunch of trash.
Artist, though.
A bunch of utter trash,
Pretty much everything John Cale has put out is either listenable or good.
Exactly.
And a lot of it is great.
What bad album has John Cale put out?
Yeah.
Maybe some of the stuff from the mid 80s or that was kind of but it's still good.
And he tries new things.
Yeah.
And the fact that the song that everyone's mom loves now, Hallelujah.
Yes. It's his version that
is what is popular.
It is?
His arrangement.
I thought it was the Jeff Buckley version.
That's from his arrangement, though. That's from John Cale's arrangement.
Oh, so Jeff Buckley was covering...
It was on I'm Your Fan, that Leonard Cohen tribute album.
Yeah, interesting.
And then Rufus Wainwright did it, and it was in Shrek, and that's the same. It comes from that same arrangement.
Yeah. If you listen to Leonard Cohen's version, it's like, okay, but John Cale was the one that brought it to that next level that everyone has followed since that, but no one gives him credit for it.
Nope.
A female artist that Mike did not cite, but I really dig her music, and I heard her album being played in a record store, and the things that make you go up to the counter and say, "What's this playing?" You always remember those, and it was the Soccer Mommy album, which I thought was excellent. Young artist coming out of Nashville, but not country. She's more influenced by kind of like shoegaze sounds. Oh, I'll tell you another one that grabbed my ear just the other day that just came out is the Sheryl. You'd be interested in this. The early Thin Lizzy Phil Lynott demos.
Oh yeah, it's like an acoustic.
Yes,
demos,
and Eric Bell, the original guitarist, has come in and added new guitar parts to some.
I haven't listened to it.
Yeah, excellent. What else? You already talked about Beth Gibbons. Cassandra Jenkins' album I thought was really good.
Yeah, it kind of is in that same realm as the Beth Gibbons.
A couple other just stray songs caught my attention off these CDs that come with the magazines I buy. But Sheer Mag, Moonstruck, I thought was a really cool song. Rosalie, who I want to say is a Northwest artist.
Yeah, that album is pretty good. That's one I've listened to.
It's kind of got that British folk rock, Fairport Convention kind of sound to it, which I love. A couple of duets that I really love. And again, I'm not sure how he pronounces his name. Is it Joe Pernice? Is it Pernice?
I think
Pernice Brothers?
Yeah, the Pernice Brothers.
I don't know if it's Italian, Pernici. He did a duet with Nico Case, who's one of my favorite female vocalists, another artist with Northwest ties, called I Don't Need That Anymore. Love that.
And she's got a new album coming out very soon.
I'll be all over that when it comes out. And Sam Beam, Iron and Wine, did a duet with Fiona Apple, another one of my favorite female artists, called All in Good Time. Really cool song. I've not listened to the albums that those came off, but I'm sure I'll be tracking those down at some point. So the Beyonce album, I'm sticking with that as my album of the year. Not because, again, it's head and shoulders above anything else. And I didn't listen to any. I probably listened to the Taylor Swift album more than anything else. But Beyonce album, it's deservedly won the Grammy for album of the year. I mean, she's just really a pretty incredible artist. And
it's her first time to win album of the year, too.
Surprisingly, I've never listened to any of her albums until Cowboy Carter. I mean, I've just heard stray songs here and there. But it's just a really important piece of work, I think. As far as the song goes, I'm going to go with something more country than Cowboy Carter. And we already talked about Casey Musgraves. Her album I just loved. And I've been aware of her. I've seen her perform on TV several times. And I'd never listened to any of her albums until this new one. Her music, at least this album, it's just so warm. It's like a cozy blanket. It just makes you feel good to listen to it. And there's one song in particular that's going to be my song of the. Actually, I should mention one more song. John Grant, All That School for Nothing, the lead track on his album. Love it. Mm-hmm. Great singer, excellent vocalist. He's been experimenting with electronic sounds on his recent albums. Really interesting art, really interesting person.
Kind of an acquired taste. He's pretty eclectic. But this was one of his first albums that I could get through the whole thing and enjoy. And that first track is pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've listened to the album, but nothing as good as that lead track, which I just love. He's got a great wit. There's a thread of humor in a lot of his music. I mean, a lot of it is based on, traumatic experiences of his life. He was gay in an ultra-religious family and kind of an outcast, and that's a theme in a lot of his music. He was in this band called the Czars, which put out, I think, 4 albums, came out of Denver, pretty well regarded by critics. And then he was kind of lost in the wilderness, and the band Midlake, I don't know if you guys are so familiar with them. They haven't put out any music for a while, but Texas band, and they loved his music, and they kind of guided him into the studio to produce a solo record, which is called The Queen of Denmark, which is a huge critical hit. And then he just kind of got his career off and going. And Anyway, I thought that was one of the best songs of the year. All This School for Nothing. Heavens to Betsy, baby. You're really something. It's love that line. But anyway, the song for me from Casey Musgrave's album is called The Architect, and it's near the end of the record. And it's a very folky song. I mean, a very strong folk influence.
John Prine.
Yeah. She's kind of like a third country, a third folk, a third pop.
Mm-hmm.
But this song is straight, and I think this belongs in the folk canon. It's just a beautiful lyric. And that was the song that probably gave me the biggest feels of the year. And that's how I've been picking my song of the year lately. But basically, it's questioning the meaning of life and existence and all the beauty and the ugliness in the world. Who's responsible? I want to speak to it's talking about God, basically. But questioning. I mean, it's not a religious song, and I don't know what her religious leanings are, whether she's Christian or agnostic or atheist or what, but it's basically, the theme of the song is there's all this beauty and wonder in the world. How did it get here? Was it some grand plan? Was it an accident? It's, basically my feelings about religion and existence. We just don't know. It's the big mystery. It's the big question. But it's just a beautifully written song, and I think it belongs in the folk canon. And that is my selection for Song of the Year. So my song, The Architect by Casey Musgraves, my album, Beyonce's Cowboy Carter. Sheryl, your song and album of the year again are?
I don't really have a song because I was listening to all of these like albums, and so I wasn't really thinking in those terms. There's definitely songs on all the albums that I chose that stood out to me, but I don't even know the names of them. So I think I'm going to have to say my album of the year is Field Music, Turn the Hours Away.
And again, Mike, your song and album of the year?
Album of the year, Kim Deal, Nobody Loves You More. And song of the year, St. Vincent, Broken Man.
There you have it. We've wrapped up another year. And when we next convene, it will be without Mike. It'll be Sheryl and I. Mike's got to get back to work at the store. Of course, they co-own the Silver Platters chain of record stores in the Puget Sound area. If you're interested in any of the music we've been talking about, go to your nearest Silver Platters and flag it down. But when we next get together, we'll jump back into 1983. We've only just begun.
Yeah.
Our first episode, we talked about Michael Jackson's Thriller. And, of course, we lost Quincy Jones since then.
Yes.
They paid tribute to him at the Oscars.
At the Grammys.
Or the Grammys. Yes, Oscars. They'll probably pay tribute to him at the Oscars, too.
Probably.
He scored a lot of movies.
Yeah.
True.
So anyway, we'll jump back into 1983 when Sheryl and I next get together on Matt Sheryl's Excellent Playlist. Until then, I'm Matt.
I'm Sheryl.
And I'm Mike.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Take care.